Hello, my name is Dan Johnson, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be talking about the brand new series of Doctor Who, which is extremely exciting. It feels like we've been waiting for this for a very long time. I mean, they were filming it before season one even aired, so these shots of the robots that were like the first glimpse that we saw at season two are now actually premiered, and that's quite a frightening thought about how much time has passed. So today, and hopefully for the entire series, I'm going to be reviewing them on the Saturday, and you should see it at some point in the evening, if not before. We'll start off with some of the things that I think everyone's going to be saying today in their reviews, and that is that the Belinda and Doctor dynamic is going to be really fun. Having a companion that sort of criticises the Doctor and is a bit more headstrong, as in conflicting with the Doctor's sort of point of view and what the Doctor may do, and finding the Doctor dangerous is something that I think is going to be really interesting to see how they explore it in this series. I think that Varada Sinthu, who plays Belinda, is excellent. I think that she's going to do a really great job. There's something quite warm about her already. She seems to have a lot that she can sort of bring to the table and bring to episodes. You know, the fact that she was helping out those people, you know, she's got a good skill set for that. And like I say, those conflicts with the Doctor, I think, are going to be very interesting when it comes to making decisions, because I think we've had a few companions that have just kind of been sort of so head over heels with the Doctor that they've just done everything that he's said. And I think that it'd be fun to have a companion that does question him a lot more. I think the acting is really strong. It has lots of little character moments that are quite enjoyable. With I think his name's Manny, the sort of big hench guy. His treatment of Belinda to then lead her to sort of put herself forward and sort of, you know, it drives the plot along, of course. And sort of that face of, oh, actually, maybe this wasn't something that I really wanted to happen, and I regret those decisions. We never saw like a payoff to it per se, but you could see in his face that that was a mistake and that he regretted that decision. The episode also looks really good. There's some gorgeous landscapes, and the way that they've tried to make this world feel like a proper city is quite nice. I also want one of the tiny well, I say tiny. I want a tiny version of those massive robots. I think they're really cool designs. And if we go into some of the supporting cast, Sasha 55 is an interesting part of the episode, because it's fallen into a trap that's happened many times with this most recent era of Doctor Who, and that's having somebody that's only been introduced for a few minutes and then having the Doctor be so emotional about their death, but the audience doesn't feel that. I mean, it sets up the stakes nicely of, you know, this can be a very dangerous thing for Belinda to embark on, but I don't feel like, once again, having the Doctor crying about it, you know, it makes sense in the context of the episode, but for me, as an audience member, I wasn't there for the 6 months. I don't know what she was doing. I don't know what she was like. All I heard was that they were going to go on flying together. It doesn't really invoke much of a reaction. And I know that some people will sort of, you know, take it on like they did with like Anita in the last series, in the Christmas special rather, and they'll sort of create an idea that, oh, you know, she'd have been a really good companion, but I just don't feel that sort of stuff. It's a bit of a nitpick that I have with this era at the minute, is introducing those characters, killing them, and then pretending like they meant a great deal. And then we move on to Johnny Green, who plays Alan, who I absolutely adore in Big Finish. I think he's a really great Torchwood character. If you've not listened to some of those stories, please do, because they are very, very good, and he's a great actor. I did see where this story was going fairly quickly. I don't think that was really the point of the story, was to sort of overcomplicate things. I think that, you know, the purpose of the story was to introduce Belinda, introduce the arc for the show, and to sort of have a fun adventure that will hopefully keep people coming back next week. And I think it succeeded in that. Although when I was watching the episode, I did kind of go, oh, this guy's called Alan. AI generator is the bad guy. Alan, AI generator. I kind of made the connection there. I don't have any issues with him being, as Belinda says, an incel and controlling, but I do feel like that could have been foreshadowed beforehand, because having this character sort of appear and you think, well, I don't know a lot about him. Oh, he's the bad guy, and then drop in the scene of him saying these controlling things to Belinda is something that felt like the payoff wasn't quite there as it should have been. I mean, if you had maybe a few inklings of it in the first scene that he's in, when he's talking to Belinda and giving her the star chart thing, you could have dropped little hints into maybe the fact that he's, you know, looking over at her phone, watching a text or whatever that might be. You would then get those element of his character that he is controlling. You don't need to drop it in quite brutally and quite ham-fistedly towards the end of the episode. And I think that was a bit of a shame because it would only have been a small correction in terms of editing. And I think it would have definitely benefited that element of the plot a lot. I really enjoyed the concept of it, the fun monster makeup that he had on as well. And I thought, oh, do you know what? I really like this story. I'd give it a pretty solid score. I mean, it's not something that I think was particularly ambitious, nor was it trying to be, but I think that this was a nice way to ease everyone into this series. And I mean, I seen a review, I think it was Radio Times, that said that this was a ludicrous reveal, and I just didn't feel like that at all. I felt like, do you know what, this was a fine reveal, but I don't think it was particularly earned. And I think, like I say, with those switching of those scenes and adding in those little foreshadowing elements, I think it would have worked a lot better. Everything felt really rushed. I think that's what the trouble was. Everything felt like we needed to get to the next scene, we needed to get to this moment, and then maybe there was moments like, as I was talking about, looking over the phone that was cut, and spending time with characters was something that was more focused on Belinda, the Doctor, and not really on everyone else in our supporting cast. And at the end of the episode, we start our arc as to where we are going in this next series, which I'm very excited for. Having the TARDIS being repelled and having that final shot of the taxi, the Statue of Liberty, and the calendar drifting away in space, God knows what's happened to Earth, but it's something to do with this reality war title that we had revealed a while ago. I found quite exciting. And as we're leading into these other adventures, we're going to get little elements of what's going on. There's also a few lines of dialogue that Twitter have been pointing out today. She knows what the TARDIS is without actually the TARDIS being mentioned to her beforehand. There's the element of Monday Flynn, and there's something with the Doctor saying that he can't tell her who told him to come and see her because of this timeline thing. I feel like all hell is about to break loose, and this is a fun adventure just to start off and get us back and get us introduced to our new companion before I think the darker episodes start coming in. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure you like, subscribe. If you are new, what did you think of the Robot Revolution? Tell me, are you excited for where this series is going to go? Do you have any theories, in fact, on Mrs. Flood? On what might be going on, because there's clearly a few hints being dropped as to timelines and wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff going on. So what do you think about that? But until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.